Breaking tonight, the first GOP presidential debate is less than a week away, and some candidates are fighting to secure a spot on the big stage. Good evening. Welcome to the Kelly File. I'm Shannon Bream in for Megyn Kelly. One of the biggest obstacles to these candidates' success is the fact that the potential field has now swelled to some 17 different faces. Fox News will host the top 10 contenders on Thursday in Cleveland. The Real Clear Politics average of polls gives us a good snapshot of the field, though this is not the guide that Fox News Channel will use to determine who makes the final cut. And as we get closer to the debate tonight, well, some of the candidates are already making headlines.
Over time, the Trump phenomena will either succeed or fail based on his proposals.
But you call it a phenomena as if it's something that's...
It's the fact you're asking me about it, you're not asking about Scott Walker or other really well-qualified candidates. It's definitely a phenomenon.
What section of America do you represent?
I think I represent a big section. I guess the poll today had me with 16 or 17 candidates, had me at 25%, and the next person was at 12%. So that's a big difference. So we represent a very big section of the country.
Not the immigrant population, though, presumably.
Excuse me?
Not many of the immigrant population, presumably.
No, I did well. In fact, the Hispanics, a poll came out 2 days ago where I'm number one with the Hispanics. I know you're surprised to hear that, but I'm number one with the Hispanics. And I said that if I get the nomination, I will win with the Hispanics.
Voters want to hear what you're for, not who you're against. I've said consistently Donald Trump can speak for himself. The other day when he went after me specifically, I just said, hey, he can speak for himself, but he's using the talking points of the Democrats. Those talking points haven't worked very well in the last 4 years when we won 3 elections.
Television works, Wolf, if you would give some other candidates time from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, all day long, every day for 3 weeks. I'm guessing some other candidates might rise as well. So, for example, well, some people are hearing about one candidate all the time. Very few people know that I've offered a tax code.
This president's foreign policy is the most feckless in American history. He's so naive, he would trust the Iranians, and he would take the Israelis and basically march them to the door of the oven.
Don't talk to me about being anti-gun as governor and raise something to me that was 20 years ago. And if you want to debate me, come in the top 10, run for president, and come to Fox on Cleveland on August 6th, and I'm happy to debate you.
Pollster Frank Luntz is CEO of Luntz Global. Frank, it is going to be so much fun. Are you ready?
I'm ready. In fact, I'm expecting that some new drinking games are going to be created out of the debate on August 6th. But there are 2 key points that I want to raise. Number one is that because we're still 6 months away from the first vote in Iowa and New Hampshire, it's going to be more about personality than it is about policy. And the candidates may not wish it to be that way, but voters are sizing up these candidates to decide whether or not they like them, whether or not they empathize with them, whether or not there's a connection. And that's more important now than where they stand on the specific issues. And second, and this is specifically for Donald Trump, it's that old Simon and Garfunkel song, The Boxer, when Paul Simon wrote, "A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest." That is what is happening with Donald Trump. If you like him, you love what he's saying. If you don't like him, you hate what he's saying. And each person hears what he says differently depending on where they stand in the political aisle.
Now, he is topping almost every single recent poll across the board. So we don't know which version of him is going to show up. He says he's going to be respectful, but he's very bombastic. And so you have to think about each of the candidates. Who stands to gain by engaging him? Who stands to lose by engaging him directly?
Well, I'm not convinced that anyone stands on engaging him. I had the chance to do it myself several weeks ago, and I understand what it is to feel the wrath of Donald Trump. Look, he is credible. He is tough. I'm surprised that he's not prepping for the debate because no matter how much you know, you never know enough for the details. But that's the kind of guy who he is.
Do you think he's managing expectations there? Because this guy is smart. He has been very successful at a number of things. Love him or hate him, I don't know. Because I mentioned that to somebody else, like, gosh, I can't believe he keeps saying, I'm just going to show up. I am who I am. Do you think he's secretly faking us out and he really is doing a lot of debate prep?
Actually, no, I don't. It may be, but he's not asking you to vote for him based on his knowledge of specific policy. He's asking you to vote for him, and he says it again and again, because of the art of the deal, because of leadership, because of a determination. He's asking people to vote for him because of a passion rather than a policy. And early on in this election process, that is a very smart strategy.
Yeah, I've wondered how it would work for him once we got to these debates and longer term, because having interviewed him myself, he will continue to return to what he's best at. He'll say, I'm the only one who knows how to create jobs. I'm the only one who's been a successful businessman. I know how to turn things around. But then when you say, well, how would you do that as president? How would you work with folks on Capitol Hill? He returns to the I want to make America great. So I wonder how long he'll be able to go on those ideas, those big concepts that people seem very enamored of, versus having to do deep dive on policy at some point.
Well, it depends on, frankly, it depends on how the media treats him. Those candidates who are angry that Trump has gotten so much coverage, they're right to be angry. There's been a lot more focus on Donald Trump, who is somewhere between 20 and 25%. He's getting over 50% of the coverage, so that he's crowding out the other candidates with their messages. But equally important, the way that the media treats him, sometimes with respect, more often with scorn, he is now becoming the vocal, the iteration of anger that the public has towards the mainstream media and their frustration with America's elites. Every time that Trump speaks against you all, he goes up another 2 points.
Yeah.
And so the press is actually creating that surge for Donald Trump.
So although he's at the top of the most of the polls, he's also at the top of the polls for a person you would never vote for, according to GOP primary voters. So let's talk about some of the other people. Who do you think will be a good debater who will have a chance to shine on the stage?
First person I go to is Marco Rubio, because he has the best positive message of any of the candidates. It's very emotional, it's very personal, and I know from the work I've done that people reacted very positively. The second person I'm going to be looking for is Chris Christie, and you showed a segment there. He's got the best sound bites. He's the most likely to start yelling at somebody of anyone up on stage. Not only will he be entertaining, but he's going to be tough. And the third person I look for is Governor Scott Walker, a current governor of Wisconsin, a blue state. He's got a very strong record, and he's got a very gentle way of communicating. So those are the three people that I'm going to be watching.
Let's talk about Ben Carson a little bit. A brilliant doctor. He's got a lot of grassroots support. People really adore him, the people who support him. He's got such a laid-back way of talking. Even when he is his most passionate about some idea or policy, he does have some depth. But do you think that's going to work for him in the debate?
He's got significant depth. And the thing I find interesting about him is that if you've got Christie and Trump on one end, then Ben Carson's exactly the opposite, the level of civility and decency that Republican primary voters should appreciate. But if I were Carson's advisor, I'd also be saying that you've got to speak up, you've got to speak out, that your normal way of backing up and being civil, there are 10 other people or 9 other people on the stage. You've got to be heard.
Yeah, and you may get run over with this group, with those other 9 who are up there. Let me ask you last about Ted Cruz. He was a champion debater. I've seen him argue cases at the Supreme Court. He's very convincing.
He's going to deliver. The key to this debate is not the overall presentation. It's the 1 or 2 sound bites. It's that 7 seconds that matters most. And I'm convinced that Ted Cruz will have one of those 2 or 3 that we are going to see again and again. There's no presidential candidate better than Cruz in delivering something that's incredibly powerful in a really short amount of time.
All right, we will see how it all plays out. And we know afterwards as well, you're going to be giving some post-debate analysis with a focus group for the Kelly File. And so we'll look forward to that, too.
I'm going to make 3 or 4 Republicans very happy and 3 or 4 Republicans very angry, but that's what I do.
That's your job. All right, Frank, thank you so much. Great to see you this Friday night.
Thank you.
All right, could we soon see federal agents seizing the private email server Hillary Clinton used as Secretary of State?
In most situations like this, you would expect that a warrant would be issued.
Why the latest document dump is raising new questions on whether Mrs. Clinton violated the law. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge, Fox News Digital Politics Editor Chris Stirewalt, they are both here next. Plus, breaking news tonight. A federal judge has just granted an abortion group's request to shut down those shocking undercover videos. And Jon Stewart